Hi, I'm Maddie Adams.
And I'm Liz Adams, and you're listening to Courageously Kind, a show dedicated to inspiring courage and spreading kindness.
Our hope is that these conversations spark conversations of your own so we all can find the courage to be kind. Welcome back to Courageously Kind. How y'all doing? Hope you're having a wonderful day so far. This week we had the absolute honor of talking to Kyle from Participant. Participant is a film production company. What? In Los Angeles. What? That has worked on some really incredible movies. You might recognize some of the films that Participant has worked on. Just Mercy came out very recently, and we actually read that book in our English class. That's really cool. They also helped produce the movie Wonder, which is awesome, and we talk about that in this interview. And they also helped produce the Academy Award winning film Roma, which is really exciting. So you can tell we were super nervous but super psyched for this interview because talking to someone from Participant was a really big deal.
Absolutely. Kyle shared not only stories from Participant, but his own story with us, and it is so inspiring to hear how he took a huge leap of faith and decided to move across the country during a pandemic to work with Participant.
Yeah, Kyle was so generous with his time and his energy and his responses, and we are so grateful to Kyle for spending some time with us, and we are super excited for you to hear this conversation. So, without further ado, here's Kyle. If you could just start by introducing yourself. What's your name? Where are you from? What are some things that you like to do? Kyle in a nutshell.
I am Kyle Epstein. I am the senior communications manager at Participant out in Los Angeles, California. I am originally from Silver Spring, Maryland, which is a town right outside of DC. And geez, what do I like to do? I like to read. I play with my dog a lot. I have a boisterous 2 year old little man. And I like to play piano and watch sports. So basically, everything running the gamut of the human experience, right?
I love it. So we came to know about Participant through Soul Pancake. We were huge Soul Pancake fans, and Participant acquired Soul Pancake a little while back. But for people who don't know, what do you guys do at Participant? What is Participant, and what do y'all do?
Yeah. Participant is a film and TV production company based in LA. And you might recognize us from films like Roma or Spotlight, Judas and the Black Messiah, RBG, and Inconvenient Truth are some of our bigger titles of late. But we were founded, 18 years ago now, by Jeff Skoll with a core belief that a good story, well told, can change the world. And our work has been rooted at the intersection of arts and activism ever since. So we make movies, we make TV shows, we make documentaries, and we run campaigns alongside a lot of this content to really connect the issues presented in the films with action on the ground to ultimately, make what we hope is sustainable impact. But the sort of constant that is undergirding all of this is the people, well, the artists and the activists that we work with. So it may sound trite, but good art, I think, and good artists really are in many ways on the vanguard of not just seeing around corners, but also expressing that vision and those emotions outwardly. Whether it's anticipating movements or being in touch with what's actually going on with some of the most pressing issues of our time. So we also partner with amazing advocates and organizations on social impact campaigns, as I mentioned, around our films. And these are people and groups that have really dedicated their lives to making the world a more sustainable and equitable place for all of us, to really drive home that the real world impact and awareness around some of these most vital issues on a global scale. But the great thing, and I'm probably biased about participant and the work that we do, I think, is that, you know, we get the opportunity to think about the cultural dynamics, I think, that are involved in making change across the big issues that so many of these films touch. So we really have to interrogate the question of, you know, what role do stories and media have in reshaping systems and narratives to help create positive social change? And what we found, of course, is that storytelling is one of the best and universal ways to do that. You know, using art as a powerful tool for activism to um, inspire and mobilize audiences to social change. So that's a long-winded answer of explaining what we do.
That's so awesome. We so admire what you guys are doing. We're taking a media and culture class this year, and it's been just so eye opening to how media can really impact our lives and can be used for such big projects that can impact people for good. So that's really awesome. We love what you guys are doing.
That's great.
We have kind of a selfish question for you. We we are communications majors in college, and everyone always asks, "What are you going to do with that degree?" And so, selfishly, we would love to know, how did you come to work for Participant in the role that you are in now? Did you study that in college? Was that always something you were interested in? How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, well, okay. If you'll oblige me to take off my participant hat here and put
For
on just
sure.
my Kyle hat, let me meander my way to a longer answer. But the short answer is, you know, like so many jobs, I got really lucky, you know, and at the right time. Um, Longer answer is, whew, okay, where to begin? I grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland, as I mentioned, which is actually one of the most diverse towns in the country. You can look that up. And I grew up in a multicultural, biracial household. So, you know, from the jump, I was exposed to a lot of different ideas and people and cultures, and that's just in the house. My high school, for example, had something like, I don't know, like 80, 85 flags hanging in its
Wow.
foyer
Oh,
to
that's
represent
awesome.
all the countries. Yeah, from which, you know, the student body came, which again sort of, I think, informed a worldview of, you know, this world is so much bigger than my little bubble. You know, I'm so lucky to have this experience and these friends groups and, you know, these stories. And, you know, I have a certain privilege that I would be a fool not to use for good. So when I graduated from university, without a job, I should add, I studied political science and minored in Spanish. So you guys are in, you're good. um, the only thing I knew, I think, then was that I wanted to be as close to the action of affecting change as possible. And after a rather depressing and slog of a summer after graduation applications process, lo and behold, I got a job working for my then congressman on Capitol Hill. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, and from there, you know, that obviously starts to jog a lot of thoughts, open doors you didn't even know existed. And I just started to get really curious about politics and policy and advocacy and just started talking to a lot of people around me, you know, like literally cold calls and emails,
Mm-hmm.
or hitting up friends of friends, older siblings, friends, people in the office, colleagues whose trajectories I admired, like literally anyone who'd respond to call or text or email from me. It's like, yeah, let's grab a coffee or whatever. Um, you know, and I just wanted to try and, you know, gain a firmer understanding, I guess, of what sorts of jobs even exist, because I think that's not something you really have a sense of when you're in college.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
Yeah, and also that there are so many other ways to quote unquote get involved. You know what I mean? So I jumped around a bit from there after many conversations, and first to a multicultural communications firm, and then nonprofits and think tanks across the sort of DC ecosystem, if you will. And I had a really great job for a number of years, which I think sort of expanded the horizon of possibilities for me, if that makes sense. Where I was, grateful to be working across the progressive issue spectrum on issues like higher education and student debt and gun violence prevention and public lands, and was eventually entrusted to be on the producing team of our inaugural podcast. So I say that to say this is a podcasting safe space. I admire what you guys are doing, and I know that it's not easy. So again, big ups to you both.
Oh, thank you.
Um, but yeah, I mean, basically, for someone like me who I guess came into sort of my political awakening, if you will, during the early Bush years. Started my professional career in the optimism of the Obama years, and then in 2016-17, when the administration changed again, I we all went deep in it, and I think the emotional toll of those first years sort of forced me to take stock of who I was and what I wanted to do and be. So now you can cue the doom and gloom music, but then the pandemic struck, right? um, Uncertainty was everywhere, and this was like, I don't know, March of 2020, so just
Yeah.
weird times. And
Yeah.
um, some former coworkers of mine at the time, they just moved out to LA to work for this production company that made cool movies and ran cool campaigns. And um, I was absolutely thrilled eventually to be asked to uproot my cozy DC life and bring some of that the frontline campaign and political experiences that I gained over the years and apply them to Hollywood, and social impact campaigns, and I've been here ever since. So that's a long story, but I think I like to I like to tell like the kind of longer track, because
Yeah.
I think it's important, especially in your as you're in college and in your 20s, to listen to your perhaps like two competing internal selves, right? The
Yeah.
one that's like pulling you towards safety and comfort and security,
Yeah.
and then the other one that's pushing you toward adventure and the unknown and all that stuff. So really just like understanding your appetite for taking risks, and like recognizing the importance of stepping outside your comfort zone and taking a leap. um, and a leap means something different to everyone. It doesn't necessarily mean drive 3,000 miles across the country during a pandemic to start a new life, much to the chagrin of your parents who are still and family on the East Coast. But
Yeah.
it can mean just like striking up a conversation with someone you wouldn't normally talk to, or taking a role that might seem at first like too big shoes to fill, or as simple as just like starting to say yes to things. And I'm really thrilled that I did. So here I am.
That's awesome. 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 Awesomeness. I love it.
I hope that provided some sort of not quite a roadmap for you, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely love that. It's so helpful.
And then to hear where people started and then to hear where they are now, it's so inspiring and helpful and very encouraging.
For sure. For sure.
I want to switch back to participant for a minute. Um, the name participant really stood out to me. You have a pinned video on your YouTube channel, and your whole company feels like you're calling people to action and inspiring people instead of just trying to entertain or sell them something. So, could you talk a little bit about the name participant and what it means to have your audience really big call to
Yeah,
action. He
yeah.
inspired.
Isn't that real great?
Yeah,
I
it's so
watched it.
Yeah.
I watched it in advance of this again, and yeah, chills.
yeah,
Maybe we can link to it or something later
for
because
sure.
Yeah.
it's really powerful. But
Yeah.
that's a great question. Um, I think, I think the message there is that the age of being a passive viewer is over, like especially as we see such a demand for content that makes us feel, and why does it make us feel? Because we connect to the stories. Maybe we see a little bit of ourselves in them, and in the characters. So in that way they resonate and become important to us in ways that go beyond the big screen. So um, I think stories tell us a few things, right? They show us, I think, how it was and as it is, but they also show us what it could be. And I think at Participant, what we really try to do is leverage, those strong emotions and the hope that powerful storytelling elicits. Um, Maybe in that way we can help our audiences start to see things in a little different light, and connect them with ways to take action. Invite them, if you will, to make change, and that's what it's really all about. So um, we ask ourselves a lot, how can we use stories, and in our case that means films, to create common context, to start conversations with different perspectives, knowing there isn't a single solution to any one problem. I don't want to be dramatic here, but we're living in really divided times, right?
Mhm.
The world is on fire,
Yeah.
literally. And there's global threats, just running around the hamster wheel of doom in the back of our heads. Um,
Yeah.
I hope that's not just me, but it could just be
No,
me.
we definitely feel it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, and then like you have to remind yourself that the pandemic, ongoing, and
Yeah.
it's stressed our systems so much on a macro level, and then on a micro level, our emotional and psychological selves. So
Yeah.
um, stories are what I think is the common denominator here, to bring people together because we all have them, right? And using art as a powerful tool for activism to mobilize audiences and inspiring mass audiences to social change, I should say, is really at the center of what we do. And the only way we can be effective in that is if the content, which at its core, is entertainment, reflects the viewer or the audience in some way. Um, there's a line, I think, in that video, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when Malala Yousafzai says um, something to the effect of, there's a moment when you have to choose whether to be silent or to stand up, and I think that basically says it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chills.
Mm.
When you said that, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. For
So
sure.
yeah, I'm glad that really resonated with you both, because I know
Yeah.
that I think it captures so well what we aspire to do.
I love that. And I absolutely love what you said about representation. Um, Liz did her homework. I did not do as much homework as I should have. Liz told me that Participant actually worked on the movie Wonder, which
Yeah.
is a movie that we talk about all the time. It really did wonders for, no pun intended, did wonders for representation of facially different people. So we were just wondering, how did Participant get involved in this film? I mean, it makes so much sense, right, with the mission of Participant and what they're involved in. But how did you guys come to work on this film?
Yeah,
Really cool.
yeah, that's a great question, and I'm thrilled that you both resonate with it. Being what, almost 5+ years old now, but um, I will caveat this by saying that Wonder preceded my time at Participant, but obviously its impact is everlasting. In fact, I checked this morning in advance of this conversation, And I confirmed that the book Wonder is still in the top 5 on the New York Times bestseller list for middle grade hard copies. Isn't that wild?
Oh my
Wow. That is
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, so it's still being, widely read in, middle schools and schools, across the country, which is just, it's great to see. But I guess for those who don't know, Wonder Wonder's a 2017 film, which is based on the bestseller, as I just mentioned, by R.J. Palacio, and it tells the really inspiring story of Augie Pullman, who's a boy with facial differences who enters fifth grade, quite a time, attending, a mainstream school for the first time, and it tells the story of all the challenges and opportunities that come with that, and it's really it's about compassion and acceptance, and it's really lovely. Owen Wilson, Mandy Patinkin, Julia Wright, it's great.
All the grades.
It's
All the
really great.
grades.
And as to your question though of how we got involved, it's actually a funny story. One of our heads of narrative film here at Participant had actually been reading the book to his then young son, and they were both so moved by it that he thought, geez, we have to get involved. And it's especially novel because Participant, up until that point, hadn't really dabbled so much in, family movies. But this, as I said, and as he felt, was just a story that was too powerful to pass up on. But I won't bore you with the specifics. But in essence, Wonder was a Lionsgate production, which is another production company. And we came on board a little later in the process to help support and build out an impact initiative around the existing hashtag Choose Kind campaign that the book actually spurred. And the campaign was really cool. It provided communities across the country with opportunities to prioritize and celebrate kindness, and activated a lot around World Kindness Week, which, if you check your calendars, begins on November 13th.
It's coming
So
up.
coming up, just around the corner. But yeah, I mean, essentially, the hope for the campaign was, empowering little acts of kindness among young people in cities and schools and online, and really just support a lasting culture of kindness, and especially for the next generation. So we came into this project, I think, knowing that it would be powerful, of course, but the full, I don't know, scale of just how much so didn't really dawn on us until much later. And listen, we're talking about it now, so it's still resonating, and I think the secret sauce is just, is the power and resonance that in children that the team saw and harnessed. And I will say that a sequel is in the works. It's called White Bird, and it carries over a lot of these similar themes, some of the characters. There's actually a trailer out now, so you guys should definitely check it out. It'll be out next year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's so
it'll be out
exciting.
next year.
Oh my gosh. And just in addition to being like a wonderful film, I think it's also a great tool for teachers and parents to help their kids learn about facial differences and disfigurements. It's just, and I remember it was one of the only things in, when we were in middle school, high school, where I saw facial difference represented, and something that was like maybe similar to like Liz's experience in middle school and high school. That was really cool to see.
Yeah, it was so similar, and it was so cool. And when it came out, it was so cool because it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
This is the first time like big media platforms are talking about this.
Yeah.
Very openly, and then for a good reason.
Yeah. I would go as far to say as that it was like revolutionary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It really meant so much to us. So to get to talk to you, who is a part of the company that was a part of making that film happen, was really, really exciting. And we're just so psyched to talk with you today.
Yes, we're so grateful.
That was
Oh
really
my gosh, yeah. I mean, this is like, we're talking, as I said today, and this is truly like the ideal, that like we uh, having our stories resonate with people in ways, as I said, that go beyond the movie and just obviously have deeper meaning and especially in the realm of representation. It's really great to hear. So thank you both.
Well, thank you. No, we're just going back and forth. I love it.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. It's awesome. So,
To sort of wrap things up, this might be a loaded question, but what do you think the future of media looks like? What do you think participant hopes that media will be or become in the future going forward?
I won't speak on behalf of the whole industry here, but the entertainment industry, I think, is changing and changing really fast. Um, so first and foremost, I think it's important to, from as a company, from like a corporate perspective, be nimble and be innovative, but also stay true to what um, and what has kind of brought success, so to speak, so far. And for us, as I mentioned when we started here, that means you know art and activism and making great films that inspire people to make positive change. But in general, though, that's a good question. I guess I hope for a couple of things. I hope entertainment companies have confidence in their audiences and in their tastes. Um, Again, I hope I don't get pilloried here, but not everything has to be a superhero movie.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
there's 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 room for stuff beyond that,
Yeah.
and that's my personal opinion. So,
We agree, but yeah.
yeah, and secondly, I think it's super critical that production companies and productions and media in general continue to center equity and diversity and inclusion in everything that they do. Understanding that your audiences are your drivers here, and I mean in front of the camera and behind the camera, just all across the board. It's critical to continue telling stories that resonate with more and more people. To have those people who look like the audiences, behind the camera or in the writers' room or what have you. Um, and then I guess the last thing that I hope for is that there are, I guess, investments in the communities that the stories touch. And I know that's what Participant does, vis-a-vis our impact work, but I've noticed, as I'm sure you both have as well, that more companies or even like more celebrities or actors or whomever have started to do this um, impact work, or at least think about the question of how I can take this marketing campaign and extend it a little bit to benefit not just the life cycle of the film campaign, but also, like I said, the communities or issues that the films touch. So I guess those would be my three hopes.
Great hope.
They are.
And I feel like you guys
Yeah.
you're on the right track. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like,
And leading the way for so many others.
yes. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Yeah.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. We hope we are. But yeah, thank you.
Kyle, thank you so much for being here
Thank
with us
you.
today and being so generous with your time and your energy and your answers and your responses. It was such a pleasure to talk to you and to connect with someone in Hollywood is always pretty cool. So
Oh my gosh, stop
thank
it.
you.
No, the pleasure really is all mine. Thank you. I know you're both in college and grinding hard. So admire what you're doing, as I said, and really thank you for having me and having this conversation.
We seriously cannot thank Kyle enough for his time. It again, like we say this all the time, but this was one of those interviews that we kind of just took a risk and sent an email, and we weren't sure if it was going to happen or not. But Kyle was so generous with his time, and we had a really wonderful conversation.
We did. We're so grateful for Kyle and for the incredible work that Participant is continuing to do.
Yeah. If you want to learn more about Participant, you can go to participant.com and follow them on all social media at Participant. Yeah, they're doing some really incredible, amazing stuff, and can't wait to see what they continue to do in the future. Maybe work for them someday. Who knows? Who knows? But they really are so awesome, and just a huge thanks to Kyle.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode.
For more kindness content, check out our Instagram at Courageously Kind Podcast.
And if you liked this episode, please consider leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, and feel free to share this show with your friends.
Take good care, and we'll see you back here real soon.